Hey everybody, it's Avenged K here, and I'm gonna give you my review on Doom Eternal and my honest opinion about it. If you guys haven't already played this game or bought this, and you want to buy and you want to spend money on a new game, without a doubt, definitely get this game. I had such a blast playing this game, and it was so much fun from the beginning to the end. There is no slow, real moments in this game, except a couple. But I don't think that's a big deal, and I don't think it's a big issue. This game has both quality, quantity, and replayability, which is something you generally you don't expect in games anymore. Once again, id Software has proven that they are the shooters in the decades, and still have. They still pushed it to the limits, even far extended than it's far expansive, I should say, than any first-person shooter could ever even handle or think of handling. Just the physics of the gun just feels so nice. The shooting mechanics are so rapid and so fast and responsive. The same goes with the quick time dodging with the dashes. The glory kills feel so rewarding and satisfying performing. There's not a single glory kill in here that isn't just amazing. And never in my life have I seen graphics this intense and this freaking detailed. The level design is actually beautiful most of the time. The platforming, which many people would disagree, uh, is good. Me, on the other hand, I think it works. I have really no issue with it. I don't know why people have a problem with the platforming. They say it's unnatural, but I think it's a bunch of bullshit because personally, you shouldn't be hating on this game because of its platforming. And I find this game has both enough platforming and enough killing and fighting and shooting than the other Doom 2016 had. Maybe not as much, but I don't know why people are bitching about that. Now again, opinions are opinions, and I oh, I respect their opinion. Even though I really just generally feel like it's a nip. And by rights, I think most people would think it's a nitpick. Because the gameplay here is amazing and so good and so beautiful. Every moment of combat in this game is an adrenaline rush. Just just being put up against like thousands of fighting and tearing your way through all of them just feels so satisfying and rewarding. Mind you, there is some enemies a little tedious and don't belong in this game, but we'll be talking about them later. Of course, you have your weapons that were from previous Doom games. There's not really any new weapons in this Doom game, other than the ballista, which is basically like the Gauss cannon. All the weapons feel satisfying to use, and all feel actually worth using. Something you can never really say in Doom 2016. I found Doom 2016, you're definitely relying on more weapons than others. In this game, the shotgun actually is worth using, which is something that in the previous Doom I couldn't really say. I could agree. This game definitely will force you to use a lot of mechanics though, especially your armor abilities, such as the flame belch. Well, I mean not armor abilities, but Doomguy's new arsenal abilities, such as the flame belch, which will give you armor, and it's like a flamethrower. Your cryogenic grenades, which there's probably other ice grenades or frost grenades. I can't remember what it is called. And the crucible, which I'm not and more on that because I think it would be a little bit of a spoil. And of course, just taking advantage of all the different weapon mods to your arsenal. But I do like the fact that this game does force you to use other weapons rather than the same old weapons. The difficulty can ramp from easy to normal to hard. Sometimes it's difficult to switch between difficulties, so I'm just letting you guys know there is a huge difficulty spike in this game. There will be moments where you will be changing from one difficulty to the other. And on top of that, they also have a new game, Lives mode, which, if you notice on the top of my screen, they basically added lives, which I guess you could count as secrets, but I don't really count them as secrets because they're meant to be picked up. They're not optional to pick up. But anyways, the Lives mode is basically like a retro style game in the 1980s and 1970s. The moment you run out of lives, you have to restart from the very beginning. I haven't gotten into that game mode yet. Eventually I will. And speaking of secrets, even though, yes, I guess you can say 1-ups can be secretive, because some of them are mysterious and some of them aren't easy to see in a bird's eye, or isn't exactly right in front of you in a bird's eye. Sometimes you really need to look for them. They also brought back action figures, which was in the previous Doom game. The weapon modification system, system, which is how you upgrade your mods, just like in Doom 2016. And others revolve around cheat codes. Like, some, for example, will give you unlimited ammo, or they will give you progressive kind of cheat codes, such as like getting all the armor upgrades, being fully upgraded, masterworking all your weapons, and stuff like that. However, you can only activate them when you actually complete a mission. They only are available in Chapter Select, just to like not give the player too much freedom, and making sure that players do play the game through beginning and end. But they're pretty cool. I haven't really around them. I tried a little bit of them, and they're just not my cup of tea. But it can be fun for other people. On top of that, they also have record albums, which will have a variety of different software games, or tracks from individual id Software games, ranging from Wolfenstein to Quake, and even Commander Keen, which is a game that I'm surprised people even know, because that's been a... And of course, previous Doom games. On top of that, you can also customize your Doom guy. Customization skins that are okay. A lot of them are not noticeable, and a lot of them are noticeable. But since it's a first-person shooter, you're never really gonna come across them. On top of that, there's also weekly challenges, which some can be ridiculous and some can be challenging and fun. There's also a battle pass, which we'll get into, and basically that's how you progress. As you can see, there's 23 days left, and it can give you some cool cosmetics such as victory poses, calling cards, or logos as they call it, and Doom skins, and beast skins, or whatever, demon skins for multiplayer mostly. Now, this game can take up to roughly to about maybe 15 to 20, 18 to 20 hours. Which is plenty of content to make this more worth your buy. On top of that, you're probably going to be playing it more than once, because there is enough replayability. This game never really gets old, and I still enjoy it even after beating it. And I see myself still probably playing through multiple playthroughs on this game. And there's also like a secret bonus if you like collect all the cheat codes, where you get to play both classic Doom and Doom 2, which both are like 30 levels long each. And if you pre-ordered the game, you also get Doom 64 on top of that. So it's going to be a lot of Doom and like a lot of content worth your time, which I'm really appreciative that they actually added the classic Doom games on top of a bundle of an already expansive Doom game. Now, the boss fights, some are good, most of them are bad. The boss fights aren't really memorable in this game, and I feel like due to the fact that you're always relying on enemies to give you ammo and stuff, and they always enemy spam. So that's really, and the only reason of them really being there is I know, to give ammo, but they can get really annoying at times, and they can definitely ruin the whole like atmosphere and experience of that boss fight. The encounter just won't feel the same, and it just won't feel as rewarding as in previous Doom games. And also, your chainsaw is also now an ability rather than an actual weapon, which I don't have an issue with. It adds a little bit more strategy towards the game, with all the ammo decline and drop rates, and being forced to use your abilities, which again all plays a big part in this game. You don't always need to rely on your abilities all the time. Sometimes there's moments to use it, but most of the time especially in the other half, or the last couple hours of the game, or the missions in the game, you're definitely going to be relying heavily on the chainsaw. There's also upgrades in this game. You have your typical armor or character upgrades, such as health, armor, and ammo, which you're most likely going to be going for ammo on your first playthrough when you first start the game. Then, of course, your modifications, and then also rune attunements, which basically are like stat points. Some of which can give you ammo after shooting a barrel, or explosive barrels can respawn after they've been in contact, or you've shot them in contact. Um, in exploration, there's a different range of them. Shooting more than one grenade and shooting a cluster grenade out of yourself, or out of the rocket mounted grenade launcher. And then you also have the runes, which are the big game changers. I am always gonna start with equipment fiend, because you're gonna be using that equipment a lot. So I definitely recommend you using that on your first playthrough. Actually, through every playthrough. And then you'll have other things like gaining speed, performing a glory kill, launching, lunging, having a longer lunging range when you're performing glory kills, which again are kind of useful. Performing glory kills faster, air mobility, and blood punch. And also, blood punch gives more health and stuff. Which blood punch is another new mechanic that they added, and basically you can like clear a whole swarm of enemies with one punch, which is pretty cool. Then they also had the codex entries, which I'm not a big fan of lore, and you guys should know, or you guys probably already know. I find lore is like the most easy telling story through lore, and like out of game, or just like stories or information that's out of context and not present in the story is counts as lazy. But I mean, this is kind of like it's not that big of a deal, because like I wasn't expecting much of a story in Doom Eternal. I didn't even think Doom even had a story, because all the games really didn't have a story until Doom 2016. And sure, yeah, some people will say Doom Eternal story isn't as good as Doom 2016, and I agree with you. It definitely doesn't have the same impact. But I like the fact that they're starting to open a brand new universe for Doom, which can to like increase and go further in depth of this game, and and an inside look of the story and lore. Another thing I don't like about the bosses in this game is sometimes they just give you tough enemies for the sake of giving you tough enemies, without even really giving any reason why. Because there is some boss encounters where you fight boss encounters and you end up come after you that just like respawn and actually stick with you later on in the game, and it kind of just feels forced. The boss fights can really just be tedious. The last boss is not the best. I find the last boss had me struggling the most. I was getting more annoyed and frustrated not being able to like beat him than actually feeling entertained and compelled and satisfied that I killed him. Which made the ending just feel like a chore. But besides that, this game is, besides those flaws, which are pretty big ones, there. Let's go by the enemies. There is most of the enemy designs are actually really creative. They have a lot of the same old enemies from Doom 2016, and then they have some returning from Doom 2, and the original concept arts or concept designs from the original Doom games, and I do admire that. I like the live service that they actually put in this game. The only enemy that I gotta say I'm not a big fan of, or two enemies, is The Archvile and the Marauder. The Marauder just ends up seeming more like a Dark Souls enemy stripped out of Dark Souls than anyone else. It's all about patience with that guy. And it gets really tedious and annoying, and he just ends up just pissing you off more than he does giving you a challenge. Because he always just uses his shield every time you try to attack him. The Archvile is just an enemy that just spawns more demons that end up dealing 10 times more damage than they originally did. And again, for some reason, they really do force you to use your super weapons. Because you're most likely just gonna... You're gonna get so sick and tired of the Archviles that you're just gonna end up using a BFG on them. And as for the Marauder, you really can't use the BFG on him. Because you can deflect pretty much any energy focused weapon, which limits your super weapons a lot, as the Crucible doesn't do anything to him, and you're forced to actually use other guns. The best way I found out for taking out him and just like getting rid of him and dealing the most effectiveness is honestly using the rocket launcher with remote detonation mod on. Also, there is some moments in this game where you can feel generally just really confused. Sometimes you end up being completely lost, which usually you shouldn't have problems with games. And also, they also have these new challenges. Well, a couple challenges. They have summoners. They have summoner keys, and then they have rift keys. Or rune keys, or I can't remember what it's called. But basically what they are is like they're a set of trial, and it will summon a certain amount of enemies, and you gotta clear them before time runs out, which is fine and all. And then they have another one which really puts you up to the challenge. It definitely just put a lot of obstacles in your way, and those are and it's known as the rune trials, which basically they summon the biggest and toughest enemies that either you've encountered or you haven't encountered yet, and make you survive and force you to survive it, and force you to survive in a number of for a certain amount of time until you clear all the enemies out. It can get really overwhelming and exhausting, so be prepared and make sure you do pick up use all your abilities to your advantage. But yeah, in a buy or wait for sale scale, definitely buy this game. However, if you are on PC, do be aware there was an issue that he did have with the game. I can't exactly pinpoint whether it was a new NVIDIA graphics update driver, or if it was Microsoft, or if it actually was Bethesda, or if it was the id Software launcher, which it could be. I don't know, so I can't really tell you. I can't really give you any advice on that. I know a lot of people were having issues launching the game, though. So, I don't know. As for difficulty, I think the best experience that you can have on this is definitely not Nightmare. I would usually say that in Doom 2016, but in this, I figured it'd be Ultra Violence. Because the difficulty does ramp up pretty far. Or pretty high up. To its predecessors. And that's it. That's going to be my review, and I'm giving Doom Eternal a 9 out of 10. It misses points for having actual... It does miss points for its boss fights and overall really bad level design at some points, especially in the stages. Now, this game isn't going to be for everyone, but I definitely do encourage most people who want a different experience in a first-person shooter game to definitely give this a try. If you played Doom 2016, you may not like this game because it tests you to your fullest limits. But I think even like people who are casual gamers will definitely appreciate this game. There's a lot of content and a lot of fun to be had in this game. And this game can be played with multiple playthroughs. So yeah, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. And it deserves minimum 9. I'm not going to give him 8. I'm not going to give it an 8 because it's a perfection. It's a perfection that's short below its fullest potential. But it's very minimum, guys. There's not much more I can complain about this game. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed my commentary. If you did, please leave a like and sub. This took me quite a while. This actually took me a couple days to record because I kept having to like delete my recordings due to really bad connection interruptions and just really bad pronunciations and pauses in my phrasing. And I wanted to review this game for a really long time, and then I had issues with my PC or with my launching the game. But now that I did figure out the issue, this game is worth the buy. I don't know what it's like on console, but on PC, it definitely looks really beautiful and really nice. And I find it works I find it plays well with my GeForce GTX 1600 series and my Ryzen 1700 or my Ryzen RTX 1700. This game is beautiful in the graphics and overall feel of the game and FPS performance is phenomenal. Which is also why I'm giving it a 9 out of 10, because some games don't do this, don't manage this as well. Anyways, that's my review, and I'm out. Peace, guys. Love y'all. Hope you rip and tear.